Take it away, Kevin.
Thanks, Nina. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another great AIM webinar, this time with our friends from Microsoft, talking about content-centric AI. There are two important and converging factors at play today when it comes to information management: content and artificial intelligence. What were once two separate worlds, content and AI, are coming together to provide a platform for dramatic innovation and transformation. Organizations that are successful in leveraging the two are more likely to come out on top. And with OpenAI commanding front page headlines, now is the time to understand the realities, the synergies, and the opportunities that are found at the crossroads of content and AI. So, is content AI really a game changer for business today? Well, we'll find out in today's webinar. We'll learn what content AI is and why it's important, how we can best use external AI apps, but also Microsoft's use of AI within their applications. We'll hear a few best practices that we can use with AI to help us get the most value out of our data, and in what ways content AI is being used today and how we can use it too. But before I introduce our guests, I want to say that we want to hear from you too. We'd like to encourage everyone attending today to participate. After all, we're a big community of practitioners and experts. So please join in with your comments in the chat feature as we go along today. And if you have a question for one of our guests, please enter them into the Q&A feature. Let's take advantage of their expertise, and we'll have a few minutes at the end for some of those questions later in the program today. All right, with all of that said, let's bring aboard our guests today, starting with Sean Squires. Sean is a principal product manager at Microsoft for Microsoft Syntex. Sean, are you with us?
I am here. Good morning, Kevin, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Sean. Welcome aboard. Where are you calling in from?
I'm actually in Redmond.
Redmond, of course. Okay,
Yes,
very good.
right?
Just north of me. Well, Sean is joined by Steve Puslik. Steve is the Content AI Global Black Belt and Senior Specialist at Microsoft. Steve, welcome aboard. Are you with us?
Kevin, how are you today? Good to be
I'm
with
doing
everyone.
good. Where are you calling in from, Steve?
I am calling from Traverse City, Michigan. So about the same
Nice.
parallel as you guys, but about 3,000 miles away.
Nice. Well, thank you both for joining us today. Thank you so much. We want to talk about content AI and what the benefits are, and we should know about it. Sean, I'd like to ask you perhaps to start first. What is content AI exactly, and how does it work?
Yeah. Well, good morning, everyone. And yeah, very excited. It's a topic that's become very near and dear to me in recent years as we've been developing Syntax. And as Kevin just said, it really is that intersection of content and artificial intelligence. Content AI, all of us, no surprise to this audience, we value the content, and businesses are run on content. And I want to throw some numbers at you that maybe you've heard in different contexts around billions, right? I mean, by 2025, 160 billion terabytes of content on our platform. Alone in M365, over 1.6 billion new documents are added daily. And when you think about the amount of money that businesses are having to spend, over 46 billion a year to maintain all of this, often unstructured content in different silos, they need help. And this is where artificial intelligence comes in to kind of evolve a lot of the content management tools and practices and the content processes that we put into place. And this is actually where Syntax comes in. It's really around building a set of content services that can come together and bring together the best parts of content management with this new AI capability to really facilitate, breaking the stuff out of those silos and getting that information to us to result in productivity savings and running our businesses more efficiently.
I want to hear about how we can use these new tools to really move our processes forward in ways that make a difference to our performance. So, Steve, can you tell us a little bit more about how content AI is used today to improve process performance, how we might use it too?
Yeah, Kevin, it really starts to automate the way that we do work. We're focusing on what needs to be done and not the busy work that goes into it. Okay. Sean had mentioned that, there's the evolution of content merging with AI. And in the last, 5 to 7 years, we've really seen that accelerate with, the advancements of the models that we've created, right? So now we're not having to focus on surfing through a document, looking for the right thing, hoping that I found it, and then extracting that out. We have a lot of more intelligence and automation that we can add to that. So let's automate that. Let's make it easier for folks to get that information out and put it to work. Because
Absolutely.
now we're using it as a data source, whereas before we were just using it as a document. So now we can start to transform, beyond looking at it as just a corpus of information, but now let's look at it as a way to, really add intelligence to what we do every day.
Yeah.
Can you give
And I'll
us an
just add
example of what
to
you
that.
mean?
Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin. Sorry.
Yeah, for example.
Yep. So for example, I've got a couple, Sean, go ahead and finish. I'm going to kind of break into a demo here in a second around some of the things that we've been able to really add value to.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to underscore what Steve said by saying a lot of this is also taking advantage of a lot of the tools that we provide for you today from Microsoft and bringing them together by taking advantage of the whole stack of Azure services, SharePoint, M365 tools with these new AI and capabilities to automate this functionality. Yeah.
Yep. So I'll give you
Show
a
us what you
couple.
mean. In what ways can we apply the suite of tools, including content AI, to improve our process?
Yeah, no, good segue there, Kevin. So what one thing that organizations have a lot of is, invoices. Everybody's got an invoice. Everybody needs to process an invoice. And when we put a document into a document library, we just expect that the information is going to be automatically extracted. So we've got, pre-built models that will look at the 34 common attributes that we see on an invoice. We'll pull those off, okay? Once we pull those off, now we can start to automate that. You want to pull the line items off so that you can create that payable transaction. We have the ability to do that as well. We also have the ability to use, that data as a data source. So kind of getting back to, not only focusing on the document, but focusing on what we're going to do with the information that's in the document. Invoices are a prime example. We need to get the amounts out. We need to get the dates out. We got to pay people, right? And we need to review that. So using that data within the Power Platform, now we can start to use Power Apps to pull it together. Okay, so if we look at a library, can we see the invoice in a library? Can we see the metadata? Yeah. Can we easily navigate through the invoices that I'm responsible for reviewing, looking at the image, looking at the extracted information, but not only that, looking at the line items. Some organizations need the ability to add GL code, that accounting, markup to the line item to properly create the transaction, but also the approval process. Where is it? So now it's in one convenient place where I can go and see everything that I need to. Once I've got that done, everything still, stores in SharePoint, search it in SharePoint at scale, but, organize it the way that we need to work, right? Again, taking that information and, using it and how we process things on a consistent basis.
All right. So invoices, a great example of an everyday process every organization has.
Mhm.
A lot of our audience is very concerned also about information governance and some of the features that may be available for that process. Can you tell us a little bit about how content AI is used to facilitate better information governance?
Yeah. So think of taking the technology out of it and you opening a document. So when you open a document, you're looking for certain things that are in a document that classified that tell you, I need to secure this with a certain sensitivity label or a certain retention policy. Those are the things that we start to train the AI models to do. So for instance, if I've got a document that has a cover sheet that's got, secret on it, well, it's, no secret, no pun intended, that, this needs to be classified in a certain way. And that's where, as I'm looking at not only a document in a library, but millions of documents that are in SharePoint, now I can use Syntex to go into each one of those, analyze the content that's in there using the OCR technology, and use that sensitivity information that you have in Purview for that consistent application of sensitivity labels, retention policies, how you want to configure that to meet your governance standards.
All right. So in what Steve, you were mentioning, or Sean, you were mentioning earlier, really not just syntax and content AI, but really the suite of applications and capabilities that play into all of this. What are some of the must-have technologies and abilities that we should be looking at and adopting today in order really make the most out of a content AI approach?
Yeah, great question. So syntax already does a lot of that heavy lifting for you. We provide a lot of these capabilities, like Steve refers to these in these examples, the models that were trained in order to extract that information, being able to use Purview to make sure that the right information protection labels are being assigned to these documents that will then have the right policies to enforce your governance strategy. And so what we've done is, really syntax is bringing together a lot of those pieces. Those of you who are familiar with syntax may have seen that we provide different types of models depending on what your needs are. Like the invoice is a pre-trained model. So that's something that we're bringing into syntax, but depending on where you are in your development cycle or what your needs are or what part of the Microsoft stack you need to use, we're using the same stack. So whether you need to develop a solution directly in Azure or take advantage of that same technology and capability in syntax for M365 solutions, you can do so. So bringing together things like Azure model technology for the classification of content and the automatic extraction of information to using Purview for information protection and governance strategy implementation, all those pieces are there for you. I'll also add too that we work very closely with the Power Platform. So a lot of our models utilize AI Builder, which provides a fantastic and powerful set of models to, again, extract information, but then also take advantage of the Power Automate flows to really drive a workflow process with this extracted metadata. So really taking advantage of the whole stack. You can take advantage of it as you need to, but you can also take advantage of a lot of those pieces through syntax.
We are here today with Sean Squires, Principal Product Manager at Microsoft Syntax, and Steve Puslik, Content AI Global Black Belt and Senior Specialist at Microsoft. We are talking about Content AI, what it is, how it works, and how we can use it too. So question, in what specific industries and applications is this most useful, and how can we start applying it today? I'll put it out there to both of you. Sean, Steve, tell me a little bit more
Everywhere.
about how I can
Yep.
really start using this today when I go back to my place of business here in 45 minutes.
Yep. So a
Great
couple,
question.
I think of the industries that are paper factories, Kevin, right? And specifically, I kind of say that in just a little bit, but if you look in some of the financial services industries, what are some of those investment documents that we need to pull in, get the information off of them so that we can make decisions within our portfolios that we're managing. Okay, so there's some valid, very strong use cases there of those metrics that change on a quarterly basis as they are published with the SEC. From a government perspective, one use case that kind of comes to mind is we've got customers that are managing the public infrastructure in all of our major cities. And they do that through, software that tells you where the fire hydrants are, the pipes and the valves and everything that runs a city, right? But behind that's a document. So there's engineers that create that document to say, I've got, this size pipe and valve and put it together. And one day you've got a water main break and you got to fix that, right? So now as you need to create the parts or you need to get the information to fix the water main break, all you're doing is simply clicking on a button in the top right-hand corner of your information screen, and up pops the document that comes from SharePoint. Okay, and how it got into SharePoint is we're extracting the information from that document that tells you what the coordinates are of the pipe, what the intersection is, what the plot is, all the metadata that's on that document that feeds into my management system that tells me or an engineer what I need to do when that specific incident happens. So, so not only are we integrating that with lines of business systems that are out there, but SharePoint being, the world's most scalable content management platform out there that when we put the workflow on top of it, when we put Microsoft Syntax on top of it, now we just got that integration story across a real business use case.
And I would probably just add, Kevin, that Microsoft is also, we use our own technology here.
Yeah.
So, we're a company too, just like so many of you on this call. And so, we have our own legal department, our own procurement, our own manufacturing and operations. And there are opportunities there to, again, simplify that process, whether it's just the scanning and ingestion of these paper documents to keep that paper trail intact digitally, or to be able to ensure that the information is being secured properly. And so we are working with a number of internal departments in our organization to make sure that the right compliance and consistency and ease of the processing of this stuff is happening. So we're benefiting from our own software, which is good.
Yep.
All right, you were giving us some examples of how to apply these techniques. Tell us a little bit more about the results. What have been some results of some use cases? What did they do, and what were the results?
Steve, you have a good industry example with a customer you've worked with recently?
Yeah, so some of the results are, cutting down the amount of time that it takes to process certain information, right? So another result would be the integration into Dynamic CRM. So we've got some capital management companies that are, receiving investment fund information from all over the world. Before they were manually going in and pulling out the rate structure for a specific fund, putting it into, a Dataverse or a list in SharePoint, and then that would be consumed by a third-party process to get it into Dynamics, to marry it up to the account card, and the process goes on, right? So with the use of Syntax, now we can automatically look at that document, extract that rate information, use Power Automate to take the information, put it automatically into Dynamics, and the salesperson can see that account card and know exactly, oh, hey, I've got this information I need to pay attention to for this customer, this information for this customer. So now it becomes more contextual to the person that's there, okay? All because, not only does it doesn't stop with the extraction of data, to me, that's just the start of how we're going to use it, right? Now let's put it to work. Let's go and use it within, our SQL databases to pull information in. Let's use it within our data warehouses so that we can put Power BI on top of it. It all starts with syntax and processing those models. So, yep. So there's some good, use cases integrations that we're seeing around the entire Microsoft stack.
Nice. All right, we are here with Steve Puslik, Sean Squires from Microsoft, talking about content AI. If you have any questions for Sean and Steve, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A feature. We will be getting to some questions here in just a moment. All right, but before I let two experts on AI go, I have to ask, where do you feel the future of content AI will be taking us in just the next couple of years? I'll open it up to both Steve and Sean. Jump in. Where do you feel content is AI will take us in the next few years, and where would you like to see us move in terms of our mindset in adopting AI?
Yeah. So it's the thing we're all thinking about, right? I mean, some of you have probably heard of this little thing called Chat GPT and large language models. I mean, there's an AI revolution kind of happening right now with this acceleration of what large language models can do in terms of, generating content to helping you, curate content. And we are looking at that as well, certainly within Syntax, to see how can the intersection of what the human needs and how the AI can assist. And really, I think that just becomes like an accelerant. So I think over the next couple of years, what we're really going to start to see is, I feel like what we've done with Syntax over the last couple of years is really, we've said like democratizing the ability to create these models and things like that. You don't need to offload this stuff with large training sets to a data scientist to go and build these models. We've kind of made these models available for a lot of people, whether they're pre-trained or something that you can customize. We've made that easier. I feel that where the AI revolution is taking us with these large language models is it's kind of like a UX reorientation. We can make the creation of those models to drive or facilitate these content processes even easier, even more efficient. And so that's where I'm really excited is I think that there's just huge optimizations that we're going to start to see, not just in this calendar year, but certainly in the next couple of years. And we plan to be at the front of that, helping provide you guys with the right tools and the right, I'm going to say guardrails, because we're not saying just throw stuff over the fence and let the AI do it for us. We believe that really the power of a lot of the content processes and content AI tools is still keeping the human at the center to really manage, define those processes, make sure the information and the workflows are operating to their expectations and confidence, and give people the tools to just do that efficiently.
Yeah. And I think the confidence of the AI revolution is going to be more accepted, right? Because right now there's kind of a, I don't want to call it a stigma, but a perception that, this is learning way too fast and I'm not quite sure about it yet. But as things start to, get more mainstream and get more productized, if you will, I think people are going to realize that, it really does, to use a phrase I used earlier, take the busy work out of it, right? Do I need to, go to 10 different documents and determine what's in those documents to know what to use, right? That may be where some optimizations come into play within, the Office suite, for instance. And just taking that content that we have and the ability to, easily work through it versus, training consistent set of models, right? So so I think there's going to be just a little bit more acceptance on AI in general. Are people still going to want to prove it before they put it into production? I think so, right?
Yeah.
But I think that process is going to get a little bit more refined.
All right, Sean, before we run out of time, tell us a little bit more about how Microsoft can help. Do you have some next steps and some resources that you might suggest to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we have a slide with some of those resources, but certainly we got a lot of material out there to learn more about the product or set of products and its capabilities and how they might be able to help you wherever you might fall, not just in this industry, but also with your use cases and in the content management spectrum. We're certainly continuing to evolve the product and the pieces that we've, capabilities we've given you guys today. We're continuing to elaborate on those, but also looking into other parts of the content process. And we'll be excited to be sharing more of that with you at upcoming events, this summer and later this fall.
All right, very good. We are here talking with Sean Squires and Steve Puslik from Microsoft about Content AI, Microsoft Syntex. Now is the time. If you have some questions for our panelists, please enter them into the Q&A feature and we'll get them into this later part of the discussion today. And indeed, thank you for your participation, both in the chat and the questions. We do have some questions coming in, gentlemen. This one, of course, the first question everyone is going to want to know is what licenses are required for Syntex? How does that all work?
Oh, it's my favorite question to have Steve answer. No, I'm kidding. Now, I can take a first one of this. Hey, Jolene, if you there, I think maybe pointing people to, we just published our latest blog post on just some updates with licensing. So we currently do have a Syntex licensing model because these are capabilities that are available to existing MA3 and MA5 customers using Microsoft 365. So there is a license required for a lot of the Syntex capabilities. But one of the things we've been talking about even at last fall's Ignite is we're moving to more of a consumption-based platform. So this is really, we're excited about this because I think it gives you a little bit more granular control over, hey, I just need specific services for my particular use case. Moving to this type of model will give people that type of flexibility with, certainly with more constrained budgets to be able to do what they need to do and take advantage of the Syntex capabilities that they need. And so more and more syntax capabilities will move to sort of like this type of billing platform. And that's already rolling out now, and it will continue to roll out over the coming calendar year as we effectively onboard more syntax services into this model.
All right, very good. This question coming in from Sarah. Sarah, thank you so much for your question today. Sarah asks, is there a limitation to the types of documents syntax can draw data from? In other words, is it required to be a Microsoft file type, or does it go outside that limitation? That's the first question. Is there a comprehensive list? And is it possible to teach syntax to extract from other file types?
Ooh. Okay, working backwards on those three questions,
Yeah.
the additional file types, definitely we're continuing to look at that and evaluate how we can support that. Some of the model types, we do more than just Office file types. We also support for some of our classification and extraction services, PDF and image files. So even if you scan something or if you have text and images, we can build models to extract that information from those. So I think your three main file types are going to be the Office file types, PDF, and images. For a full list in our syntax documentation, you can see a full list of the file types we do support across the different features.
Yeah, kind of
All
to
right.
add to that too, Sean,
Yeah,
we've got a
please.
lot of customers that have PowerPoint presentations that they want to use, so we can, do all the extraction within the slides and the sections of PowerPoint, TIFF images, PDF images in addition to the regular images that we normally see too, are supported as well. So some good results there.
All right. Do I have to be an expert in programming or some sort of expert in systems to work with these tools?
No.
No.
Happy to say that. No.
That's good for
I meant
me.
what I said. We're trying to democratize this stuff. So,
Yeah.
and what I mean by that is really just to answer your question is, no, we want to lower that barrier to entry to being able to, train or configure these capabilities to do your automation and needs. When, like, for
End
example, the
users
pre-trained
can do it
models.
themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Like a pre-trained model. Here's how easy it is. You can actually just upload a sample file. We'll scan it. We'll tell you what it's detected, and then you can build the model and say, I want these entities extracted, and you can have that model published in 5 minutes. That's how quick
And
it
then
is.
does it learn along the way? So I get it up and running, and then how does it learn along the way?
Good question. So the behind the scenes, the API that we're calling that's actually doing that work, we're continually updating that with our Azure partners to improve the quality of these models that the services are using. And so there's no active feedback right now with the models themselves saying, oh, you missed this, let me tell you this. That is coming. But what we
I
are
see.
doing is continuing to sort of upgrade, the underlying models that are doing the processing.
Oh, I see. So it's an updated process. It doesn't learn per se at this time.
That's right. It's not learning
Yeah.
on
Okay.
your specific content. It's learning on all of the content over time. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
All
we
right, very
really,
good. We have some more questions coming in, and we will be getting to as many as we can here today. Thank you for your participation, everyone. This question here, can we use Microsoft Syntax to create new documents, not just extract data from existing documents?
yeah. So
Yeah. You
that's
want to
where
take
we
this one,
have.
Steve? Yeah.
Yep, that's where we have content assembly. So exactly to that point is you've went through the hard work of using syntax to extract the metadata from the document. Let's use that metadata. So a classic example is a claim form. You may get a claim form in from a healthcare provider, from a financial institution, whatever the case is there. You're using Microsoft Syntax to extract that information out. Now you can instantly send a confirmation letter back to that person, patient, whatever, to say, hey, we got your claim form. We're in the middle of processing it. Then as it works its way through the purchasing or the fulfillment process, at milestones, you can also send a letter back out to that person. So either a snail mail or an email, but you can use that to generate those Word PDF documents that you want to send back out. Yep,
Nice, nice.
absolutely.
This question coming in from Gary. Gary, thank you. AI can help with getting very good results, getting the right fields with minimal training, but that extraction is based on the model and not compared to real-time data in Dynamics or some other ERP. Is this capability coming or possible now?
Hmm. Sorry, I have apologized. I should not be both answering questions
Yeah.
and listening to Kevin at the same time. Can you repeat which one that is, Kevin?
You bet. You bet. It's a bit to follow, but I think it's a good question. AI can help with getting very good results, getting the right fields with minimal training, Gary says.
Right.
But that extraction is based on the model and not compared to real-time data in like an ERP or Dynamics. Is this a capability that's coming or possible now?
Interesting. I would say it like this, Gary. The models are getting more intelligent where even though you have trained it on sets of models, one of the models you should look at is our freeform model. The freeform model, it is true. It is using kind of like its own base training to understand how to detect the entities that you're labeling and want to extract. But what's
Okay.
clever about it is it's getting smarter where it can actually, even if you got, let's take an example like a rental agreement. You might have a rental agreement where the terms of payment are in different locations in different documents, but it's learning to understand what that entity is regardless of where it appears in the layout of the document. And so you're right, it is, there are still some exceptions and it might miss a few things, but generally the model quality is getting so good where if you have documents that are very similar, consistently, it can pretty much identify and extract those entities. But even with documents where the entity might be in different positions in the document, it is learning or has learned how to detect those. Is there a feature in the future where you could say, hey, right now you're kind of missing some of these things? Right now, our best solution there would be train with some more of those documents, because that will help you understand the nuances of how the model is working with your specific data set, and you can make adjustments accordingly.
All right. Very good. Is there a API for Syntax?
There is, yeah. The API, we have an API more for specific actions, like if you have models that you want to apply to, let's say, hundreds of libraries across your M365 tenant, you can do that. You can even use these APIs to process contents of those libraries against those models. We don't have APIs for like training a model, and there are some other features that we don't have yet in APIs. I dropped a link for some documentation. We'll continue to add more capabilities to our APIs to encourage, third-party development, absolutely, and support third-party development.
Nice. Nice. We are here with Sean Squires and Steve Puslik from Microsoft. Now's the time to get your last minute questions in before we run out of time today. Gentlemen, Eric is asking, will there be a co-pilot for Syntax?
Oh, that's a great idea, Eric. We, I
Eric
did
wants
mention
20% for that idea.
it.
But yeah, co-pilot, that's a good idea. Will there be one?
Well, we are looking at large language models, and as I'm sure many of you are aware, so is all the rest of Microsoft. We did an event last month talking about our partnership and investments in OpenAI, and you saw some of those co-pilots in the other Office applications. We are looking at this stuff, and we'll have more to share later this year for sure.
All right, very good. This question coming in from Brian. Brian, thank you. Can a hold be applied to a model at a point in time to preserve what the model looked like at the time the hold was issued?
So models do have version control
Yes,
within that, just like a normal document library would. So at any point in time, you can go back to the version that was published and saved. There, I believe, so there's also the ability to put a sensitivity label on the model library.
that's right.
Obviously, that's at the library level, so that you can secure that according to that sensitivity label.
Yeah, so
All
just
right.
elaborate on that. Great call out, Steve. I think because the models themselves are objects. So whether you configure a pre-built or you train a custom model, those are being saved as entities in a document library. And so all the things you would do with other files, you can do there. And I'll just add, you'll see this if you go look at the documentation as well. We have like enterprise models that are created and saved in the content center, which is a unique site template. But we also have models that can be created locally. So you can even control, like if you have a particular organization, you want to manage a particular model, you can do that at a local level and constrain who can use it, where it can be used, and of course, obviously take advantage of all the library versioning capabilities that Steve mentioned.
Sean, tell me a little bit more. I'm curious about the models. What and why are there different processing models?
Yeah, so part of that is, is just we have a plethora of models because we have a plethora of technologies, and but really more seriously is there were different capabilities that we wanted to support, and there are some limitations with models. I mentioned there's different file types that are supported. Some of the models don't support Office file types. Some models, most of the models do. And so part of it is just language support, file type support. That's why we have different models, because we wanted to give you the flexibility to be able to do whatever you need based on what that model can support. I will say that one of the things, our longer term goals, maybe kind of back to that future question, is as our own technology evolves, the models will probably start to converge a little bit, because we realize that sort of abundance of choice is both a benefit and sometimes a challenge. And so we want to make sure that we're, to other questions about making the experience easier, we want to be able to say, point us to a file, let us recommend the right model that you need, and be able to do for you what you need. Yep.
For those of us in information management, AIM members, AIM practitioners, do you guys feel that content AI is a game changer today?
I was hoping we'd answer that question. I'm going to say emphatically yes.
Yes. Yeah,
In what ways?
absolutely.
How so?
I think with just some of this stuff, and I'd love to hear your thoughts here on this as well, Steve, is I think, much of what we talked about with the future, I think just what we've been able to provide in Syntax now to really just automate, to improve the quality of these experiences, but also just productivity savings in this day and age, I think is super valuable. Like I said at the top of the call, the abundance and amount of information that we are creating and storing is just overwhelming. So the more tools that we have that can help us, not just automate, but tag and extract the right metadata so we can find the stuff and actually use the content we're creating, or find the content we're creating, super important. Now, as we move into this world with large language models, they just actually amplify and accelerate being able to do that. And so I really do think this convergence of AI with content is a game changer, and we're going to continue to see that over the next couple of years for sure.
Okay. And if you look at the building blocks of what is in, the SharePoint architecture, right? Has it changed fundamentally over the last 10 years, 15 years? Not really, right? We still have the concepts of taxonomies. We still have the concept of term stores, content types, site columns, in the way to manage those efficiently. But using those has always been a bit of a labor-intensive process. And that's where, within the last few years, as we start to see the AI technologies mature, we're taking advantage of that infrastructure that we know, we love, we understand. Now we put it to work.
And that is the game changer, making it, as you put it earlier, democratizing.
Yep.
Yeah. And building on what is there. I think that's what you said, Steve, a plus one that's super important. Just as a quick call out, a lot of the model stuff and these capabilities we've been talking about, they're building on all of those things. When you create a model, you're actually defining a content type when you define that extraction schema. And that's actually a content type. We didn't need to rebuild that. That's already a really useful defining mechanic for, hey, this is a contract, this is an invoice. We didn't want to rebuild all that stuff and have to reimagine all those things. The content management and content process pieces are already there. Let's build on those. Let's evolve those.
Are we at a tipping point right now with respect to AI in general? We hear about it in the news. There was a big report on 60 Minutes just over the weekend. It's on everyone's minds. Are we at the tipping point that we anticipated a few years back that we would come to?
I think we see the mountain in the horizon. I think we're there. I don't know if we've tipped over it yet, but we're certainly walking that way, I think. And well,
Right.
maybe running is probably a better verb here.
Running.
I think that there's a lot of clear, good questions being asked. We are asking them ourselves. How do we deal with and address the concerns that people have about this, very powerful evolution in the technology to build features and capabilities and services responsibly. And again, like I mentioned earlier, still maintain a human component to that. We believe wholeheartedly that a lot of what we're building isn't about, hey, let's figure out what AI can do and replace. It's more, how can AI help what we're trying to do and still have the human in the driver's seat? So are we at that tipping
Right.
point? I hope not yet. I don't think so, but I think as long as we stay mindful, we'll get there pretty quick though.
Yep, I think we're
All
putting the
right.
building blocks in place to leverage those for good things in the future. I think we're still going. Technology used to change every 2 years. We feel it's changing about every 2 weeks now, right? It's just accelerating. I think people need to just really understand it and accept it for what it is and how it can make their lives better.
All right. It's been a great discussion today with Sean Squires, Steve Puslik from Microsoft. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being our guest experts today. It's been fantastic speaking with you.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Appreciate your
everybody.
time.
Yep, always a
All
pleasure.
right. Well, very good. With that, I'd like to turn it back over to Nina. Nina, what is it that I hear about a special offer for everyone that attended today?
Yes, Kevin. So the AIM 2023 Industry Watch report is going live tomorrow, but everybody who has attended this webinar will be able to sign on to join the list to automatically get your copy as soon as it comes out. So this report is a user-generated intelligence to uncover the realities of post-pandemic information management and its impact on current industries and economic forces. The key findings in the report point to a number of opportunities for next generation success and several roadblocks to get there. So don't get left behind. You can sign up now and a copy will be automatically emailed to you as soon as it's live. It's really exciting though. There's a lot of key information. There was a lot of deep diving that was done this year in this report. So it's worth reading about. Also, like Microsoft and a few of our other vendors, AIM 23 will be in NOLA, where Microsoft will be as well. The theme for this year is content in the flow of work. We promise to send you back to your office armed with a personal roadmap for transforming how business content is captured, created, processed, and shared, and discovered and protected. All for empowering your people, enhancing customer experience, and driving business values. Tickets are still available, so register now with the link in the chat. As we bring this webinar to a close, a last few minute reminders. We've recorded this webinar so you can catch anything you want to hear again in a recap email that will be sent within 24 hours. A link to the resources for this webinar was put in the chat. You'll find a copy of this presentation as well as additional resources through that link. Don't forget to take our feedback survey and let us know how we did. Before we wrap up, though, I'd like to give an opportunity to our speakers once again to have any last minute comments or remarks that they'd like to leave our audience with today.
If you haven't tried out Microsoft Syntax, go do so.
Absolutely. Yep. It will change the way that you look at metadata and content for a while.
Absolutely. And what about you, Kevin? Any last minute key takeaways for our audience?
Well, it's been a great discussion today. I love these AIM webinars because we're leading the discussion. Is content AI a game changer? Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. But I can tell you this: there are converging factors at play, information process and artificial intelligence that are going to be dramatically changing the landscape for us. And so it's great to have these experts with us today to explore all the topics. And so thank you for Microsoft for once again helping us have a great webinar today.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Absolutely.
everyone.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you,
Thank
Kevin.
you everyone for joining us.